about relocation to the UK. They won't talk about it to the press. I want you to be the one to hear it, so you can share it on your channel first ahead of all the other commentators. Well, as you can tell, I didn't do that. But I am very appreciative of having received this. But I will tell you what the person, and I'm deliberately not going to do anything to possibly indicate in any way, shape or form who the person might be.
A royal commentator has just made a claim that, if true, could change everything for Harry in America. And tonight we are laying out exactly what is being alleged. Quick pause before we continue. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications so you do not miss any updates from beyond the palace.
I'll continue reading. The breaking news about H&M's imminent return to UK in next 10 days or so, that is early September, is not what it seems. Incidentally, I checked all of this out and it's absolutely sound. They are exiting US for a far more serious reason and not what their camp is spinning to the press. Various, and I'm going to all sort of shade this a bit. New York and Washington, D.C. official government contacts confirmed the actual and much more serious reason that H&M are leaving so quickly is because the feds were closing in on H for illegal entry into US due to falsifying immigration papers and other supporting documents. Preparations were, sorry for laughing. Sorry, now I'm coughing. Preparations were being made to nullify his visa status and in effect kick him out of US. Also, the very real possibility, and now this is in...
According to author Lady Colin Campbell, sources close to the situation suggest American authorities have been examining Harry's visa documentation, specifically around past statements he made regarding drug use in his memoir. Here is where it gets interesting.
Big, in what's it called? Bold. The very real possibility of federal criminal charges and possible prison time for falsifying visa documents, along with other documents withheld that were incriminating. So to save face, they are telling the press other reasons to make themselves look good and spin it in their favour. The other more obvious reasons are because they are going broke financially. Then there's opinion and but I'll read out some of it. M needs to hang on to H for her connection to royalty, so she keeps her imagined relevance. And the possibility that M gets H farther away from the alleged other woman who is an American somewhere on the West Coast. Let's leave it at that.
Campbell claims her sources describe the possibility of serious legal consequences, though she is careful to frame this as an ongoing inquiry rather than a confirmed outcome. But here is the thing. She goes on to suggest Harry's legal team may have advised that returning voluntarily to the United Kingdom carried fewer risks than remaining in America while matters were reviewed. Stay with me because there is more.
Well, I don't know what you think, but I think that's pretty incendiary. But there was other stuff. that came to me, again, via a very trusted source, on the 12th of August, relating to and it's stated the 12th of August. The US State Department in Washington, D.C. has spent the past 24 hours investigating Harry's visa documents about falsifying his illegal drug use in order to enter the US, based on his statements from his book Spare. There is a short window of opportunity right now, in bold, for any connections you have, Lady C, within your circle at the highest levels to alert the appropriate British authorities to have them contact the US State Department while documents are being investigated. Ask the appropriate US authorities to request that the US State Department, while investigating Harry's visa documents, to draw their attention to the possibility of other forged documentation the Sussexes may have falsified or covered up while residing in the US in year 2021. As now would be the time to do so. It would not have to involve the royal family. It would not have to involve any lawsuit, just a request. Remember, I'm not going to read out this. I think it's too sensitive. I'll paraphrase it. There was an allusion made to the fact that Harry was being watched. Perhaps you can pull some strings on your end. By the way, regarding M's threat to sue you about another woman claims, here's a fact. According to a landmark precedent-setting US case entitled New York Times versus Sullivan, no one in the public domain anywhere in the world, that's you, Lady C, could be charged for speaking your opinions, and then they go into other stuff which I don't think it's advisable to repeat now.
Campbell also touches on the political landscape, claiming Meghan holds little favour within Democratic circles and suggesting neither major American political camp wishes to be closely associated with the couple at this moment. Let that sink in for a second.
According to NYT v. Sullivan, you are protected by the First Amendment to the US Constitution regarding freedom of speech, even when you are speaking from the UK and as a resident of another country. However, this is only true if a potential lawsuit filing initiated by H&M comes from the US against you. So you are protected by US law in that scenario. Then there's a discussion of British law. And it goes into a lot more detail with a lot of other matters, which I do not think it would be advisable at this stage to allude to. In fact, I think it would be pretty dangerous to allude to anything else at this stage. My understanding is that Harry's lawyers warned him that he stood a better chance of being deported if he remained in the US than if he immediately repatriated to the UK. This makes sense because if Harry had remained, to all intents and purposes, a US resident, then there would be a stronger incentive to charge him and possibly deport him. There are all sorts of things that have been going on behind the scenes with all sorts of politicians involved. What I find interesting about all of this is that the Democrat Party in the United States wants to be free of Meghan's, shall we say, advances. They also are playing a part and have played a part in keeping me and other people doubtless informed as to what is going on.
On the financial side, Campbell notes that having spent 6 tax years outside the United Kingdom, Harry could potentially repatriate earnings without triggering capital gains tax, a detail she suggests may be shaping the timing of their return. That is not even the crazy part.
So, it's bipartisan. Meghan is absolutely loathed in the Democrat Party. They want to have nothing to do with her. They want to have no association with her. They want her to keep as far away from them as possible. They find her toxic, poisonous, and as far as they're concerned, she would be an absolute vote loser. Their announcement of keeping 3 residents going is a way of pretending that there's no threat to his status to remain in the in the US. Well, in fact, there is a threat, but they're hoping, and evidently Meghan is also hoping, that by doing what they've done, that will prevent the State Department from moving against Harry. Because can you imagine how incendiary it would be if it turned out that the American government arrests Harry for forging documents, etc., etc. There's evidently a mandatory prison sentence involved in the crime of forging visa documents. I suspect that Harry has received very good legal advice. Of course, Meghan is the past mistress of deflection. So they have leaked it to People magazine, etc., that they are coming back for a rapprochement with the king. They have even got to, they've been even mischievous enough to reintroduce the subject that maybe the king's health is not as good as it is, to divert attention away from what is happening with them.
She also describes their Montecito property as an increasingly heavy financial burden, citing high mortgage costs, taxes and maintenance, painting a picture of mounting pressure behind the scenes. So why does this matter? Because according to Campbell, when it comes to reconciliation with William, there is, in her words, not a chance, suggesting the rift within the family remains as deep as ever. What does this mean for the family going forward?
No surprise there. Meghan's always been adept at pulling rabbits out of the hat at the 99th hour. So this should not come as a surprise to anybody. But they have known that he was in danger for some time. Now they know the danger is very real, hence why they've bolted. They have fled the US. That's what they have done. The palace has made it clear that the king was only informed of all of this on Sunday. Well, my information is that Harry and Meghan have been looking at places and schools before they informed the king. And they are, I'm trying to find a delicate way of putting this. Well, why be delicate about it? They informed the king. Meghan is trying still to control the narrative. But this is a huge failure for Meghan. And I'll come to that in a moment. You may ask, why now? Well, when you stop to think of what the sequence of events has been for the last few weeks at least, and let's remember it's the 11th and 12th of August that the State Department turned its beady eye on the papers that Harry has evidently submitted. You have Niall Gardner and the Heritage Foundation pushing this for what it's worth. There has been an interview of Nigel Farage and President Trump, where President Trump has actually almost said that he would leave it up to the authorities, but basically I know his preference is to not have anything embarrassing happen insofar as the King and William are concerned.
Whatever the truth behind